I'm wondering, Tim and Mike, in your coaching experience, and I don't care what age group it is, what level it is, have you had examples where your assistants or a player or even yourself, the light bulb went on and you said something that made an impact and made a difference?
Well, I have one instance in mind. I was a head coach for a 12U team, and we were in a weekend tournament. And we're a lower level team, a B level team. And we were in a weekend tournament, and we had lost the first two games, and we just didn't play very well. And I I don't tend to talk a lot to the kids before a game, and but I had some assistants that liked to talk a fair amount, and I told the assistants before our third game that we were not going to talk to the kids at all. We were going to leave the locker room and let them handle it because they. And so that's what we told the kids. So I told them, I said, you guys have heard enough from us. We're going to wait for you guys out in the hallway. When you're ready to take the ice, come on out. And almost immediately, one of the kids came out and said, Coach, can we have your whiteboard? I said, yeah, sure, sure. And I don't know what they did, but they came out and they won the next game. And so that was great. So we had the fourth game, and I was, you know, the kids were just getting to the rink, and I was hanging out watching the game that was on the ice. And one of the dads came over to me and he said that was awesome. He said, "Are you going to do that again?" I said, "Yeah." I said maybe. I don't know what I didn't commit to it. But anyway, I turned around and go in the locker room, and one of the assistants was already in there talking to him, so I lost the opportunity to do it again. But uh, I just sometimes I for me it's better just to let the kids do it. And
How,
Tim, it's really
Howie,
it's Tim,
I'm
it's really
sorry.
hard to not want to listen, isn't it? Like you want to
Yeah.
give it over to the kids. I know that when I was GM of the Furies, we had a like a space you could walk in, but the roof, the walls didn't go all the way up, and often I just wanted to go and listen to hear what they were saying to each other. But you really got to just leave them. But you want to know. I mean, it's especially when you win. It's like, what magical sauce did they provide that helped? But good for
yeah,
you to just kind of walk away.
Um,
I have to share the story about. Go ahead, Tim.
well, I just before I have to jump off, I just wanted to thank Howie for taking the time to talk with us today. I'm just blown away by the whole thing. So I'm in. You might have not heard my introduction at the beginning of the call because you might have been disconnected. So I'm in the States, youth involved with youth hockey in the Philadelphia area. So I watched both the 18U games versus the US. And one thing that I learned from you is I should have a black Sharpie in my pocket and put my initials on my water bottle cap, so it doesn't get mixed up with everybody else's. I think I saw you do that at the beginning of the final game. Um, but so watch, after the preliminary game, I'm thinking, well, that game probably didn't go the way the Canadians wanted it to go. And then after the final game, I'm thinking to myself, well, what just happened here? And I really, at that point, thought to myself, well, I would really like to know, what went on the bench and in the locker room and with the team, and never thinking I'd ever have the chance to actually look inside, and see what happened. So I really appreciate Sammy Joe and Wally for and you for taking the time today. And this is just fantastic. I'm going to replay the video and take notes.
You
Thanks
know,
very much, Tim. I
before I go
appreciate
to
that.
Mike about his coaching experiences, Howie, I had to, because it reinforces the importance of positivity. Over the years, and I don't know that you've gotten involved in delivering clinics, but I sure did. They were born from the Claire Drake era. Dave King, George Kingston, Claire Drake out west. We were curriculum writers, providers, and we did a lot of the clinic. And Hockey Alberta's taken it to another level in educating course conductors, meeting in the spring before the season to be educated better at coaching coaches to get certified to coach. And I have to share this story because the Sharks are about lifelong learning, Howie. And this is a lifelong learning experience for me as a young, up and coming coach, having national team playing experience and working with Dave King. Now I'm at a course conductors conference. I'm coaching high school football, wrestling, and track. And we have a course conductor present on the importance of positivity. And he handed out a sheet to us. I think it was 99 ways to say good job. And he explained the impact of positive energy. And I have to relate that handout to my experience going to a teachers convention and hearing a human resource office manager speak to 1,000 teachers about the same thing and explain the science of the power of positive thinking and the effect of negative body language, frowns, whatever. And we went through a series of arm tests. So when I had that 99 page sent to me, it was like the 5 light bulbs went off. I ran back to Hockey Canada and I did the arm strength experiment at their offices at the Saddle Dome with the staff. I was so excited about it. I incorporated it with all my phys ed classes because I had created sports psych grade 10, 11, and 12 units. And that became a part of it. But when the clinic ended, the course conductor's clinic ended, I took the sheet to football practice. And I tell this story, and I do the same thing at coaching clinics today. And I told my football staff, we had positional coaches, we had the group, we did a drive bag drill where 4 units competed, one player holding the bag, one waiting to set it up, and then the line of players rotating in to pound that bag down the field, given the technical information to do it right. And we always barked out the teaching points. Arch the neck, bull the neck, drive, don't dive. And we got pretty good at it. But this time I gave them that sheet. And I said, coaches, all I want you to do is read from this sheet. Nothing else. And they looked at me like I was crazy. I said, no, this is what I picked up on the weekend. I want to experiment. At the 25-yard line, without any technical feedback, everything was great. The 50, it was better than it had ever been, and the bags were getting really pounded. 75, I couldn't believe it. They were starting to cheer. When they crossed the far goal line, they were high-fiving each other like they won the Rose Bowl. And I told this story at hockey clinics, and I hand out the sheet. And it was a 2-day clinic. One coaching staff came back, told me they used the sheet on the bench, nothing else. And they ended up beating a team that had beaten them 5-1 before, that they had never beaten at all. And so the power of positivity supersedes doing everything correct technically. And I just thought it was worth sharing that story. Now, Mike, you've coached a lot of different teams, different ages. And can you share any stories like Tim did about that kid? Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I mean, there's a ton, right? But I think the one thing that I've taken just from coaching and when I, I definitely am a coaching clinic geek. I love just going to different clinics, hearing different speakers. Obviously, when I'm in these programs, I think the most impressive thing to me, I was just at the NHL coaches clinic in Montreal last week, And one of the most impressive things in all these kind of clinics is that not only the speakers and the guests that are there are, obviously doing what they do, but they all stick around and listen to whoever's speaking and whoever the guests are, and they're the same people in those rooms. But I think, from your perspective, the one common theme that comes up all the time, and Tim hit on this a little bit as well, right, about your players, allowing your players to just, kind of, just you guide them and allow the players to coach themselves and to kind of own these moments. I think was really hard for me as a young coach when I first started coaching to be in that, to not be in the position of controlling every single piece of what they did. And I think certainly, I think that the reason I've had success since my early coaching was only because I've let the ego of me thinking I know everything about coaching and allowing the players to just take what, we're doing the right thing as coaches, as everybody on this call does, with your groups. And if you feel like you're pushing the right buttons, then you allow those players to take ownership. And I know it's cliche, right? But I think you learn more from each player and each season that you have to find these great athletes that just find a way to make, their experience better. And that's something you can't manufacture. It just organically happens because of the environment you've created. So, certainly not one thing, but I think it's just a combination of, the more you get to coach and the more diversity you get to coach in, it just makes you a better, it makes you better suited to work with really anybody you get to be on the ice with. In my case, I mean, obviously you can bring this into any line of work. I just happen to be, in hockey all the time. So it just works out. It just works out well that I get to enjoy, watching all these young athletes that you hope you mentor grow into positions of making these decisions on their own and leading their teams and standing up and doing things you wouldn't think you'd see out of some players. Not controlling them. So that's really, the only thing I could really add. This is a great, I love hearing the, as Tim said, behind the scenes of how coaches push the right buttons. And I think one of the things that we don't ever get is we always see the end result and we don't get to see the sausage being made and, all the stuff behind the scenes of all these great team building activities. And, it wasn't always, hey, I picked the best 18 players and look, we were successful. How much has to go in, to finding players. I was with the Colorado Avalanche coach last week at a table, just listening to, what was the difference between last year and this year? He's like, nothing. I mean, it was just the way the players decided to take control and build their own destiny and understand, that they had to go through certain situations and circumstances to now get to a place to win. So, a lot of different things, but these are great opportunities, and really appreciate you taking the time to, speak to us all for sure.